my god. What a way for Formula One to return. Hi everyone, it's Keira and welcome back to my channel. I hope you are all well. Just a quick disclaimer before I get into this video, I am currently filming off my iPhone and not off my camera because something is going wrong. I don't exactly know what. My SD card is broken or my camera is broken, not too sure, so I'm off my camera on my phone. I hope that is okay. But anyway, we are here for the first race review of the season. We have waited 217 days for this race. I just can't believe I've actually watched a Grand Prix this weekend, like, oh my god. And was it a good one? Like, that, if we could come back with any Grand Prix, that would be the one. Like, that was absolutely incredible. The racing was unreal. It was just amazing. For today's video, I'm starting up a new series on my channel, which is called the Tail End Race Review. And it is basically going to be me reviewing the race from the weekend. I'll be doing this after every single Grand Prix for the foreseeable future. And I'll be giving you my top points for what I think was good in the race and what, you know, just what it needs to be highlighted. I will also highlight, you know, certain things you might not know, and I will also highlight the retirements because Lord knows we had a lot today. I just feel like there's no point me sitting here and giving you a boring race review of what exactly happened in the race because you all watched the race, you all know exactly what happened. There's no point me sitting here trying to tell you exactly what happened because you know, that's why you're here, you've already watched the race. So I'm going to sit here and talk you through all of the retirements and I'm going to talk you through all of the key points which I thought were just either bizarre, amazing, awful, anything. Like, this is just my opinions in a race review. So before we get into this video, if you do enjoy it, please be sure to give it a thumbs up and do not forget to subscribe down below. I would really love it if you could subscribe. As I said, these are going to be pretty much every week now because we have got races literally every week for the foreseeable future. So I am going to be doing one of these every Monday after every single race. So let's get started, and first I'm going to talk to you about all the retirements from the race because there were a few. So obviously we know that, you know, Mercedes completely dominated the weekend, but Max Verstappen was really up there at the weekend. He done a really good job in qualifying, and as much as the Ferrari is off pace, the Red Bull is actually still on it. So they were doing really well. Max was doing really well until the camera literally panned to Max Verstappen slowing down up through turn 2 and up into turn 3, and oh my god, my heart literally just sank. I was like, I can't believe this is happening because we knew that Mercedes were having an issue with reliability, with, you know, the racing point was having smoke coming out of it every 5 minutes. But I really thought that the Honda power was good. I really thought that the Honda power was doing well. So to see Max just completely break down was ridiculous. I could not believe it. He was doing so well. I thought, oh my gosh, Mercedes are going to run away again. So what he was actually doing and what caused the retirement was the fact that he was changing things on his steering wheel. Obviously we know that the engineers tell the drivers to change things on their steering wheels pretty much every corner, every turn. They're always changing things on the steering wheel, and there was a certain thing that his race engineer must have told him to do, and it made the car go into anti-stall and he couldn't get out of it. He tried really hard. You could see him going down the straight, like having a look, seeing what he could do. He ended up taking the car back round to the pit lane and they changed his tyres and gave him a new steering wheel because it may have just been, you know, that it wasn't, you know, centred up properly, or maybe he just needed a new steering wheel. He tried again. He literally, bless him, he got like 5 meters and then it bogged down again, and that was it. And you could see them putting the car up on the jacks, and Max was like not even bothered. He literally got up, the car was up on its jacks, and he got out of the car and walked off. So a really disappointment for him because I definitely could have seen him on the podium this weekend, but unfortunately he retired. The second retiree, well, how's that word? How do you say that word? Retiree? I don't know. The second person who retired was Max's former teammate, Daniel Ricciardo. He retired on lap 18. Now I'm a little bit confused with this one because I thought Daniel was stuck in gear going around, and I thought that was the reason why he retired. But apparently he drove it back to the pits anyway, but the team said that it was a cooling issue and they retired him as a precaution in case it got worse. But I'm pretty sure he was driving around the track stuck in a gear, literally going like 20 miles per hour. So I'm not entirely sure what the story was there, but Daniel was the second retirement. Now lap 14 we started to see Stroll really struggle, and he started to complain to his race engineer that he was losing a lot of power. And I was looking at it thinking, why is Lance so far off Checo? Now I know that people are like, oh, Lance isn't as good as Checo, whatever, but I personally didn't think that Lance would be that far back for no reason. You know, there must have been a reason why he was so far back. There must have been a reason why he was being overtaken by literally everyone, and we realised that he was slowly losing power, which is obviously very concerning because he has a Mercedes in the back of his car, and the Mercedes are 1-2, and obviously Mercedes are going to have to worry about that as well, and Williams are going to have to worry about that. So this is where it kicked off, and you know, the next I think 4 laps or so, he was just getting worse and worse. And by lap 21, Lance did retire. He had a sensory issue, as we ended up knowing, because Mercedes ended up having to really conserve over the tyres because of the fact that there is an issue with these Mercedes engines, which is actually, you know, a lot more than anybody thought. Nobody thought that they even had this issue, but they do. So the 4th retirement was Kevin Magnussen, and this was probably the weirdest one when watching it. So Ocon was going to overtake Kevin up into turn 3. It was a really good overtake from Esteban. I was like, wow, like that's such a good overtake. Next thing you know, Kevin's just gone straight on up into turn 3, and I'm thinking, what on earth are you doing? And then when you watch it again, you think that car is not stopping. Like, that car has not stopped, and he just went straight on. Good job he kind of turned it around before. If not, he would have been either in the gravel or in the wall, and that would not have been good. He actually had a right front disc failure on that one, which is very worrying. I think that's probably the scariest thing, is when you have a brake failure in Formula 1, because you're going so fast, and to know that your car could like literally stop at any moment and you could go straight on, especially around a track like Austria when it's such high speeds, is very concerning. But it is a shame for Haas, because it's made their weekend even worse than it already was, because we all know they weren't doing very well. But Kevin ended up retiring on lap 26. And the next retirement was his teammate on lap 50. Grosjean actually had an off a couple of, I think maybe like 20 laps before. Up in turn 4, he went off in the gravel, and that's when he then done this again this time. And I thought, oh, Roman's gone off again in turn 4. How has he gone off again? And then you realise that he's actually had exactly the same problem, and he literally couldn't stop. And that's really worrying to know that both of the cars have had a brake failure. And it's just, there's a stigma, right? It's not even a stigma. There's just a thing around Haas where it's always an opening race, they have an issue. I'm pretty sure they've had an issue 18, 19 and 20, at least from what I can remember. It doesn't matter if we're in Australia, it doesn't matter if we're in Austria, they have an issue. At the start of the year, they always seem to have a failure and retire, and it's awful to see, because I want them to do well, and I want to see the cars running on track. So to see Roman in the, luckily there is gravel out of turn 4, because I feel like if that wasn't there, he would have been straight in the barriers. But yeah, yet another retirement with only 20 laps to go. But it got worse from there. A lap later, we had George Russell retire. It was the saddest thing ever, because he was doing so well, he's running so high up, and obviously all these retirements that were happening were bumping up George, and it was even bumping up Latifi, and obviously he was a couple of spaces down. You know, George was ahead of the Alfa Romeos at least, and he could have easily got points if he wasn't to retire, but unfortunately he was the next retiree. Now, I originally thought it was because of the Mercedes engine, but I actually found out that it was a transmission issue within the gearbox, and Williams supply their own gearboxes. It's not a Mercedes one. So I mean, I don't know if that makes it any better or any worse, and it's just such a shame, because George deserves it so much. Like, I could rave about George Russell all day. I probably say this in like most videos. And it's just such a shame for him to not be able to get the points that he could have very easily have got this weekend. So that safety car probably lasted about 4 laps, and on lap 55 we were ready to go again, and straight as we were going again, I looked at the timer screen and I just saw Kimi go straight down to the bottom, and I saw yellow flag, sector 1, sector 3, and I'm thinking, right, something has literally just happened. What is going on? And then they pan to Kimi on the pit wall, in the wall, and I'm thinking, how do you crash there? Like, I don't think this has happened. Like, this wouldn't be, Kimi isn't the type of person to do that. And then we see the onboard from, I think it was from Sebastian, and the wheel wasn't on, and it's not the fact that, you know, suspension failed or anything, because you would have got the what do you call it, the tire, basically, you know what I mean? Like, if the tire was to burst or something like that, it would stay on the rim. However, it was literally the actual tire that was not fitted properly, and as he went over the curb in turn 9, you could see it come loose, and it was very scary. Actually, it's a very scary thing from both Sebastian's and Kimi's perspective, and you just saw the tire like fling across your screen, and it just went back over into turn 10, and that was very scary. So at least he didn't crash in a way, but it's just very peculiar, and that shouldn't have happened. And I don't actually know how long before that he pitted. I presume he must have pitted under the safety car, so probably like not very long before, but it's very worrying to know that the tyre was not on. So we're now coming up to the final, literally like couple of laps of the race, and it was lap 68. Alex Albon's day went from bad to worse. I will talk a little bit more about the incident with Lewis in a little bit when I talk about my top moments, but Alex did retire. He pulled over, his car went wrong. I presume it's something like Verstappen's as well. I think his day just went from bad to worse, honestly. He didn't deserve that, but yeah, car failure. And on the penultimate lap, we panned, all this action is going on, right? We're having all of this action. There's cars everywhere. We're looking at Lando Norris thinking, is he going to get this podium? Oh my gosh, what is Lewis Hamilton doing? What is Checo doing? What is Charles doing? And then we just pan to Danny Kvyat, who's his tyres flying left, right and centre. I think, oh my gosh, we can't have this right now. And actually what had happened is he made contact with Esteban Ocon, which I don't think was said in coverage, but he actually made contact with Esteban Ocon. I think Martin Brundle either said, oh, he could have gone over the curb, or it might have been with a Ferrari, but it was actually the fact that he made contact with Esteban Ocon. We didn't see the contact, and I don't know how much it affected Esteban. I don't think it really did, but he made contact with Esteban and ruined his race. So in total from the race we had 8 retirements, and that's just way too many, isn't it? But at the same time, that caused all the action. I just can't believe that many teams had that many issues. So moving on, next I'm going to talk to you about my top moments, and I'm going to talk to you just like 3 different things that I thought were either made the race, not necessarily because it was a good thing, not necessarily because it was a bad thing, just the 3 things that really stood out for me in the race. So I think when Lance had his issue at the start of the race, Mercedes started to worry about this sensory issue, and it was about lap 44 that the engineers kept telling Lewis and Valtteri to stay off the curbs, we have an issue here. And we kept going on board with Lewis, and literally you could see, so obviously when you're on board with Lewis, it's a fly, you could see Lewis's car and what he was doing, and you could see Valtteri's and what he was doing, and they were both literally not even listening at all. They were both on the curbs, literally did not care. I'm thinking, what are you doing? And then Lewis was like, oh, Valtteri's doing it more than me. I was like, just stop doing it, just stop doing it. Like, why are you still doing that? And it actually took James to come on the radio and said, look boys, you actually need to get off the curbs. Bono had to say to Lewis, I mean the red and white bit as well, like not just the green bit out there, you literally need to stay off all of the curbs. And eventually they did listen, but I think that's something that Mercedes really have an issue with, and I feel like they tried to cover it a little bit today, but I definitely feel like they are going to need to look at this, and I don't think this definitely isn't going to be something that they can fix in the next couple of days. It's not going to be fixed for the Styrian Grand Prix, which is next weekend or this weekend as you are watching this. So I'm very worried. I don't actually know whether this Mercedes is going to make it through next weekend at all. I literally have no idea, because they obviously have a very big issue here. They have an issue with the Williams and the Racing Point as well. So the next point I'm going to talk about is Spinala. We all know what that is. I don't think I need to explain it. Spinala. Sebastian had another spin. I thought he'd got over this spinning thing. I thought, you know, he had made amends for all of the times he used to just spin around for no reason, but he hadn't. Safety car restart. We had Charles going up the inside of Carlos. Very nice move. There was the tiniest gap, right? The tiniest gap that was there for the splittest second. Like, I don't know if that's a word, but for a split second it was there. And it was there because Carlos was just taking the other line round that corner, as most of them do. You either hit the apex or you kind of go flat around it. And I don't know why Sebastian thought there was a gap there, because there literally wasn't. But anyway, stuck his nose in. Carlos inevitably clipped him and he went spinning and he turned around. And when I first saw it, I was like, oh my God, Sebastian, like what is going on? What's happened? But then you watch the replay and you realise, like, why did you do that? But I guess at the point he was frustrated. He was trying to get past these people, you know. He had no pace. He had absolutely no pace. It was literally like P10 the whole race. It just wasn't good. And I actually watched an onboard of Sebastian after the race, and the car looked so bad to drive. It had no rear end. It had no grip whatsoever. The car literally wasn't sticking. It looked like he was tiptoeing around the track. He was getting out of shape every single corner. So I really think that car was very difficult for him to drive this weekend. I also believe, I think I read on Twitter that it was difficult for Charles as well, so I'm not trying to give excuses for Sebastian for being so low down or anything. I just think it was very difficult for him this weekend, and he saw a move, tried to take it, but it didn't work. The last thing I'm going to talk about is the final 10 laps. I can't even fathom what happened in the last like 5-10 laps of this race. Lewis found out on lap 66 that he had the 5-second penalty for the collision with Albon, and this is where we put 2 and 2 together and we realised Lando Norris right now could get himself a podium, because Checo was ahead of Lando, but Checo had the 5-second penalty. So Lando needed to look at himself from where he was with Lewis to see whether he could get this podium, and I was just screaming. I was like, I was sweating. Like, I genuinely was so worried about what was going to happen, because I'm a Lewis fan, I'm a Lando fan, but at this stage I wanted Lando to get his first podium. No two ways about it. So on lap 69, Lando made a lovely overtake on Checo. It was really good. And he didn't need to do that, I don't think. Well, he kind of did need to do that. He needed to do it because he needed to get the 5 seconds to Lewis, and he just sent it up to turn 3, and it was really good move. I miss seeing Lando Norris do that. I feel like he definitely used to do that in his F3, F2 days, but I feel like I've missed that spark of him in Formula 1 last year, so it was really nice to see him send it like that. It was really good. But the last lap, I don't actually think the commentators realised it was the last lap, because we were on like turn 7, 8, and Crofty was like, the Mercedes could work together here, and blah blah blah. I was like, there's literally two corners left. Like, we do not have time for that. What are you talking about? So anyway, we're watching this gap. At the start of the lap, Lando was 5.2 seconds away. I thought, oh my gosh, he's not going to do that. How is he going to claw like 2 tenths back to Lewis? Like, how is he going to do that on the final lap? This is a Mercedes against a McLaren. But we kept our fingers crossed. And I'll tell you something that was really good. Obviously, we were watching Lando as he crossed the line. But it's literally like the only graphic that was actually useful this weekend was the timing straight away between Lando and Lewis came up. And within like, I think it came up when Lando was at like turn 1, it came up. So it came up very quickly, rather than us having to either work it out or wait like 2 minutes for them to tell us. Came up to tell us that he was 4.8 seconds between him and Lewis. And I broke down. I would happily sit here and admit that I cried. I cried because I followed that guy through all of his junior categories, and he's such an amazing talent, and he really deserves this podium like more than anyone. So to see that come up, I'm thinking, I didn't expect it to happen. I expected him to be like 5.1 or something, like to claw back so much. Apparently he was a second faster than Lewis on the final lap. It was just amazing. You kept seeing like the purple sector come up, purple sector, thinking, is he going to do it, is he not? And it was just amazing. Like, that sort of racing is what I want to see, because it was just amazing. So there we go. There are my points from this weekend's Austrian Grand Prix. Obviously the first weekend back since, I think it's been 217 days, which is absolutely crazy. But as I said, this is going to be a series, and I'm going to be doing this every single week. So I'm going to give you my predictions for the Styrian Grand Prix, which is basically round 2 of the Austrian Grand Prix, but gonna give it a little bit of a different name. So I expect FP1, FP2, FP3 to pretty much be the same. I feel like Mercedes are going to dominate that. I don't really see anybody coming close to them. Qualifying, I'm gonna say, for third, I'm gonna say Checo, Sergio Perez. I think he's gonna do well. I think he's definitely got the pace. P2, I'm going to say Valtteri Bottas, and for pole position, I'm going to say Lewis Hamilton. Obviously, it was the other way around with them two this weekend, but I definitely feel like Lewis can normally put it out of the bag, and he can normally pit Valtteri, and I feel like, I don't know what happened this weekend, but I just feel like when Lewis does get his lap together, he always seems to get Valtteri by like a 10th or something like that. So I'm feeling like that's going to happen next weekend. Maybe he's got more back into the rhythm of it or whatever, or something like that. So now for the top 3 in the race, I'm going to say third, I'm going to say, I'm not going very much out of the box here, but it's just because I literally can't. But third, I'm going to say, third, I'm going to say Alex Albon. I feel like that Red Bull is really strong. I feel like it hasn't got any weaknesses. It's definitely like the second best car, no doubt. And I really want Alex to get it. Third time lucky, maybe. Who knows if Lewis doesn't get in the way again. I feel like Alex is going to get there. I'm going to put him for third over Max. I'm hoping Alex gets there. P2, I'm going to say Valtteri Bottas, and P1, I'm going to say Lewis Hamilton. I don't think there's any debate there. I just feel like the Mercedes is going to be on top. And as long as they don't have any reliability issues like they may do with this sensory issue, I definitely feel like they're going to completely dominate the weekend again in Austria next weekend. Fastest lap, I'm going to say Carlos Sainz, probably. I feel like that McLaren can do a lot. I'm going to say Carlos, just to give a little bit of a different answer. I don't know whether it's going to happen or not, but I'll say it. And first driver to retire, I'm just going to say Sergio Perez, because I feel like that Mercedes engine, it's not doing well. It's really not doing well. And I feel like it's going to be one of those drivers out of Racing Point that is going to suffer. Obviously Lance suffered this weekend, so maybe Checo will suffer next weekend. I don't really know. I don't want him to, because he's so fast in that car, that pink Mercedes is really, really fast. But I feel like that may happen. So there we have it. That is it for today's video. I hope you did enjoy the tail end race review video. Obviously, if you do enjoy it, please be sure to give it a like and subscribe. I will be doing another one of these next Monday, and I also have another video coming out on Wednesday this week. I'm going to be getting my content ready and up for you guys throughout this brand new season of Formula 1 in 2020. I really enjoyed filming this video. Let me know in the comment section below what you thought of the race this weekend. Let me know if you agree with me. I mean, I kind of only stated facts really, so it wasn't really an opinionated video or whatever, but I hope you did enjoy nevertheless, and I will see you again soon for another video. Goodbye.